Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking on Braves Boys podcast. Today I'm going to go over class of 2022 recruiting overview, I guess you could call it, in about a little over 2 or 3 weeks. Official visits will start, and recruiting is going to be up and running more than it has been recently. I know there's some 2021 commitments, not necessarily Notre Dame ones, that are big for the recruiting outlook, but 2022 is primarily where Notre Dame's looking, and for good reason. They have to replace the 2018 class. One of them will be back in Dane Goodwin, but Prentice Hub, Nate Laz will probably not opt into a fifth year. They haven't said that, but it's kind of what I was thinking. I'm sure that they're still sorting that out, though, and maybe one of them does come back. But right now they have 7 scholarships remaining because Dane Goodwin doesn't take one up. But they do have a really nice roster coming in, more so looking to at guys who can develop, as Mike Bray, team personified. In these guys' freshman year, Notre Dame's going to have Cormac Ryan, Trey Wirtz, Blake Wesley, Elijah Morgan, Alex Wade, Robbie Carmody, Dane Goodwin, J.R. Knesny, Tony Sanders, Elijah Taylor, and Matt Zona on the roster. So definitely not a bad roster at all. Do have some needs, though, like a point guard and a center. Cormac and Trey can both be ball handlers, but having a point guard, guy like J.J. Starling, who I'll get into more later, would really help. And then Matt Zona is your tallest guy at 6'9". You'd really like a center. I think it's probably better to get that in the portal, but if Notre Dame could get a guy who can get rebounds and put the ball on the floor, post up, work out of the pick and roll, a center, just a kind of big guy like Armando Bacot or Manny Bates, I think that would be really valuable. This class, like I said, is really important just because 2018 could move on here. Notre Dame's going to have to get a new core essentially in this class. I already had this video filmed before the Anthony Solomon hiring. This is going to be Anthony Solomon's first class. Definitely don't think it's fair to judge him just off this class, though, because he's only got a few months with them. But Ryan Ayers did start the class off, if you want to buy into that at all. Started recruiting guys like J.J. Starling, and I'm sure talked to Rodney Rice as well. And Mike Bray's job is also uncertain past 21-22. So this could be an interesting class. Could end up looking a lot different if there's another coach coming in after the season. So definitely something to monitor there with Mike Bray's job security. I'm sure they could keep commits just based off Notre Dame, even if Bray does leave, but definitely something to monitor. As for official visits, the only one they have right now scheduled is Brayden Moore. I'd expect a guy like J.J. Starling to end up on a visit, and a few more. Went over those towards the end of the video, but Notre Dame, I think, is in a good spot to land a couple of guys in this class. A lot of the guys that they looked good with at the beginning of the class, they do not look great with anymore with all the coaching changes, and a lot of the guys just shot up the rankings since Notre Dame offered and kind of took them out of the running. Guys like Donovan Clingan and Isaac Trout were guys that I thought they had a decent chance with early on, but now not looking great. So I'll get into all the players right now. So be sure to subscribe if you like what we're doing. Only YouTube channel fully dedicated to Notre Dame basketball. So drop us a sub if you don't mind. It'd mean a lot. So thank you guys for watching, and let's get into each of the players. I went over the order that Notre Dame, I think I went in the order Notre Dame's pursuing them, at least in my opinion. And then towards the end, I did kind of another class overlook. So here we go. Guess I'm going to start with the guards. I'm going to break down their skill set and Notre Dame's chances at them. So first, I think the main priority with guards is J.J. Starling. J.J. Starling's a guy who can really shoot it. Called the best shooter in the class by Ryan Ayers. But what makes him so appealing offensively is his versatility and that he can create off the dribble. He created against some of the top competition in the country when he was at La Lumiere this year, which is also something that plays into his recruitment because La Lumiere is about 30 minutes from Notre Dame. Notre Dame has never landed a guy from La Lumiere, but J.J. Starling could be the guy who changes that. This year at La Lu, he turned into more of a combo guard. During his sophomore year, I was really impressed with him as a point guard, but when he went up to higher competition, he turned into more of an off guard, which is not a problem, but he's not the point guard that Notre Dame was originally recruiting. I think there's a lot more to him being versatile. I think that adds a new dimension to his game. And another thing that adds a dimension to his game is his defense. He's a guy who's really gritty on the defensive end, has nice size. I think he's a little limited athletically on that end. He's not going to be Blake Wesley, but he's definitely a guy who could really get into opposing guards and maybe force some turnovers. So love J.J. Starling's game. Love the way he would fit in Notre Dame's scheme, especially with the way he can get up and shoot it. Guys who have range like J.J. Starling are really appealing, especially a guy like J.J. who can really get hot. I think J.J. Starling is one of the more explosive scorers Notre Dame's been recruiting, so would love to get him. I'd say Notre Dame's chances with him, I'd say medium to high. There are some other schools that are heavily involved. The three of note are Syracuse, Ohio State, and Alabama. I think Alabama and maybe Ohio State are the ones to really look out for. But Notre Dame's distance there helps him, and Notre Dame's been on J.J. Starling forever. So I think they have a nice chance with him there. I don't know about Cuse's chances. I've heard they're not as good as they look, even though he's from around Syracuse. So definitely something to note. I think J.J. Starling is a guy Notre Dame has a real chance with. They just have to finish the deal this summer before he commits elsewhere. There's some teams who had better seasons than Notre Dame, but it's all about fit with a guy like J.J. Starling. So that's all I have for him. He's the main priority in that class for sure, or for guards in this class. But going on to the second, I'm going to say Jameel Brown. He's a guy Notre Dame's been talking to forever also. I don't think their chances are great with him. He has crystal balls to Purdue and Penn State, former Purdue commit, but he left when Micah Shrewsbury went to Penn State. I wouldn't like to put him in the same category as a guy like J.J. Starling or the other guards they're talking to, because he's known for being an off-ball sharpshooter. He has some range too, but he's more just a catch-and-shoot guy. He can't get to the basket, but his ability to get to the basket kind of reminds me like T.J. Gibbs. I don't know how effectively he'll be able to do it at the next level, even though I think he is a little more quicker and explosive than T.J. Gibbs, especially in high school. I wouldn't call him a true three-level scorer yet, just because most of the time he gets to the rim, it's kind of in a mismatch or in transition. You kind of see him post up sometimes, which is interesting to see from a wing, or I view him as a two guard. I don't know what scouts view him as, but I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of mismatches at the college level, especially considering he isn't like an athletic freak or anything. I'd say he's an average defender, can really get after it, but kind of like J.J. Starling, his lack of like explosiveness as a freak athlete kind of limits him. I think he'll be an average defender at the next level. Really reminds me of T.J. Gibbs, but I'd say their chances are low to medium with Jameel Brown just because of Penn State and Purdue seem like a huge fit there. But there does seem to be some legitimate interest. We'll see if Notre Dame can really ramp up in his recruitment, but I doubt it for now. My number 3 priority for guard is going to be Rodney Rice. Rodney Rice is a combo guard, but mostly plays point guard. From DeMathis, Notre Dame has a connection there. Him and Jameel were just offered earlier this week. He has great size and length for a guard. Really smooth and under control. He was exactly what I was looking for a Notre Dame point guard. I think I like his game a little more than J.J. Starling even though Starling's ranked a bit higher. You'll watch Rodney Rice and you'll be like, is he even trying? I mean, I just love smooth guards like that. It reminds me a bit of Trey Wirtz, but I think he's a little bit better of a scorer than Trey Wirtz was at that stage. As you're saying, he's like I was saying with him and Wirtz, is like, you're going to be like, wow, is this guy even trying? But then he'll blow by a guy for a dunk, or he'll hit a 3 in your face. He can score at all 3 levels, and he'll likely have more of an opportunity to do that next season. I could almost see his recruitment picking up next year if he doesn't commit over the summer. He has good size, and that will help him on the defensive end as well. As you can tell, I'm pretty high on Rodney Rice, probably higher than I am on J.J. Starling, not as high as Jaden Bradley, who I'll get into in a second. But I think Notre Dame can make a play here because of the DeMatha connection that Mike Brey has used to get guys like Jaron Grant and DJ Harvey throughout his time. But I'm not too optimistic considering he has 4 crystal balls to Louisville. I'd say their chances are low to medium, more to the low side. I think Notre Dame could be a school that gets in his top 4 or 5, but past that, I'm not sure that they really stand a chance, but even if they go hard after him in the next few months. So that's what I have for Rodney Rice, really high on his game, but I don't know. I don't think their chances are great there. I'm just hoping he doesn't go to Louisville, another ACC school. So that's what I have for Rodney Rice. And then lastly, for guards, going to go with Jaden Bradley as the last priority. They've talked to him a lot. They talked to him a lot in the fall, I know. 5-star floor general, full offensive package, floor general. All he needs to do is really develop more touch from deep. He's not the best scorer ever, but he's like a Chris Paul type floor general. I wouldn't put him all the way in that level, but he's a guy who your offense is going to flow really well with when he's on the floor. But he does have 3 crystal balls to Kentucky, and he's a 5-star recruit, so not optimistic about Notre Dame's chances there whatsoever. So Jaden Bradley is going to be my last guy. I didn't want to get into him too much just because I don't know about their chances at all. But that's what I have for the 4 guards they've offered. I'll get into wings and forwards now. All right, so lastly, going to get into the forwards and centers Notre Dame I think has a chance with, and then I'll go down to the guys who I don't think they have a chance with. To start, Brayden Moore, I think is the number 1 guy that they're going after. He's taking a visit to Notre Dame when the dead period ends. He's a 6'8" stretch big who's known for his shooting. I've looked at his stroke, real automatic, clean stroke from out there. I don't think he's going to be a guy who works out of the post much. You'll watch his tape and you won't really see much. More of like a perimeter player. I've seen him in the post, but normally it's around the top of the key or the perimeter. He does have nice touch around the rim from what I've seen. It's hard to find full games of him. At this point, I've only seen like 2 or 3. So I haven't got a real feel for that, but it does seem like he has nice touch. He works through contacts on the boards, which is phenomenal considering what Notre Dame has had. For 6'8", I think he plays a little bigger than that, especially around the rim. On the defensive end, I don't have a great feel for him defensively because he played in a lot of 2-3 zones, and he either hedges or drops on pick and roll, so I haven't seen him switch. But he does move well, especially laterally, and he has decent footwork, so I'd assume he can defend guards at least sort of well. There's a couple of highlights I have of him. I don't think I'll be able to find him for this, but he has switched on to guards 1 or 2 times. And he didn't get burned. Definitely a lot more encouraging than Matt Zona's high school tape when he switched on to guards. So like what I've seen from Brayden Moore for sure, recent offer, and Notre Dame seems to be pushing hard for him. He said the staff is heavily involved and that he'll be visiting this summer when the dead period's lifted. Notre Dame's had to compete with Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Missouri. A few more also have interest, but those are the other schools he's visiting. So their chances are medium to high. This is the recruit I'm really confident that Notre Dame, if they push for him, has a nice chance with. So that's what I have for Brayden Moore. Love his game. I think he's a great fit at Notre Dame to play the 4. And there's a shot. That's all I'm saying. I think they have an even better shot with him right now than they have with J.J. Starling, especially considering the other offers J.J. Starling has. So, all right, so this is my 3rd shirt of the video. Just wanted to touch on Cam Whitmore real quick. I was going to say next guy is Prince Aligbe, which I'll talk about in a few seconds in the video, but I was watching it back. Realized I forgot to talk about Cam Whitmore, who's a guy Notre Dame. I would just leave him out, but I think Notre Dame has a decent shot with him if they choose to pursue him. Seems like he could go to Maryland or Florida, one of those other schools, but his offer sheet isn't too big. He is a Maryland guy, so Maryland could really make a play there. And I think if Maryland wants him, he might be theirs. But Whitmore's a guy I really like on the wing. I think he'd be perfect for Notre Dame. Has some connections to Notre Dame. Athletic freak, maybe the most athletic guy on this list, either him or Prince Aligbe. Can both high flyers, just really explosive athletes. And Whitmore also has really nice touch outside. I think he's 6'7", doesn't play like he's 6'7" though, or 6'6". Kind of plays like J.R. Knesny, where he's kind of like a guard. I think he's J.R. with a little worse offensive touch and better athleticism. Really love Cam Whitmore's game. Has some connections to Notre Dame. It's either his grandfather, I think it's his grandfather played at Notre Dame. Has his name in the rafters, so that'll definitely be a selling point for them. I think this could end up being Notre Dame versus Maryland when it comes down to it, and Notre Dame has a nice chance to end it, so I'm going to go with medium to high for my chances with him. So now I'll get into Prince Aligbe like I was about to, so here we go. Guess I'll get into the next guy, Prince Aligbe. Described as a pogo stick athlete when he played against Amani Bates. Did a good job defensively on him. I love Prince Aligbe's game. Really good, versatile defender. He's physical. He's energetic. He moves well. Exactly what Notre Dame needs. He moves like a shooting guard, but he's a power forward. But he can also be physical around the rim. He's a freak athlete, like we talked about earlier. But he probably won't take games over with his scoring. That's not what Notre Dame needs, though, with JR and Blake on the roster, or even like Cormac and Wirtz. I think he could come in and contribute day one just because of his versatility. He's played against great competition throughout his high school career. Played alongside Chet Holmgren for his first few years, and now he'll be the feature guy for Minnehaha in his senior year. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do. That being said, I think their chances at him are medium to low. I've heard they were pushing for him a while back, but he has a huge offer sheet, and I don't know what Notre Dame really has to offer him. I don't know if he's definitely a Notre Dame guy based on hearing him talk, but I don't know if the fit's there. But with a guy like Prince, you find a place for him to play. It doesn't matter where you fit him. So that's what I have for him. And then next, going to say Donovan Clingan is our next guy. Just a really talented big man, has a nice touch around the rim, 7-footer. I think he'd be a guy that would really benefit from going to prep school. He does have huge offers from like Michigan. He could be the runner-up to Hunter Dickinson at Michigan in a few years. Or was it? Take the reins from Hunter Dickinson, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I think there's a lot of room for his game to grow. He's trying to develop a three-point shot, but he just is phenomenal right now, and his offers are just going to keep shooting up. So I don't think Notre Dame has too much of a chance here, but they have prioritized him in the past. He was their first offer in the class. Going to say their chances are low to medium with Klingen. And then on to Isaac Traudt, another guy who I really love as a prospect, 6'9" forward who can play pretty much 1 through 4. He's played point guard before. He's played power forward before. He can do it all. He's had a really nice start to the AAU season. Can create off the dribble, get to the basket, can pretty much do anything you need him to do except play center, basically. It's like a stretch 4, but it has guard skills. Reminds me of JR. I think I already said that, but he has good size, moves well. So I talked to him in the fall, seemed interested in Notre Dame, but things have really picked up since. He's got an offer from Kansas, UNC, Michigan State, and a few others since then. It's hard to tell if they're still even in the running for him. That's why I put him down here. But he seemed interested. I would say their chances at him are medium to low. Not exactly sure where they stand, but I can't imagine that they're at the top of his list right now. So that's what I have for Isaac Traudt. Next, I'm going to say Kyle Filipowski is a guy I don't think they're really prioritizing, but he had talked to him a bit in the fall. They offered him last summer. Right now, he said OSU, Iowa, and UCLA are pushing for him. So I think that tells you all you need to know. Seems like he's going to go to UCLA, in my opinion. He's a guy who's shot up the rankings since Notre Dame offered him, kind of like Isaac Traudt. It seemed like they had interest early on, but as they shot up the rankings and got huge offers since, it seems like those are the types of guys that Notre Dame has kind of passed up on as of late because they haven't really had chances. So that's what I have for Kyle Filipowski. I'd say the chances are low, pretty much just low. So that's what I have for him. And then lastly, Jarace Walker. That he was one of their first offers also, freak athlete. Kind of reminds me of Zion. I don't think he's at that level, but he's pretty much all you can ask for in a recruit. Can do pretty much everything. And that being said, 5-star recruit, chances are low. Notre Dame has never landed a 5-star. Walker has a UNC future cast. And I could honestly see him going there with Bradley. So that's what I have. Chances are not good at all with Jarace Walker. But going to talk about who I think Notre Dame, like a realistic class for Notre Dame could be. I think the two guys that Notre Dame's really prioritizing are Brayden Moore and J.J. Starling. Those are two guys that I love the games of. Are those the guys that are going to take you to the next level? Probably not, but those are good players on good teams. So I would love if that was Notre Dame's class. But as of now, I think Notre Dame's class could look a lot different. I think there's a world in which Notre Dame's class doesn't consist of any of these guys, and they have other players that are just as good just because of the Bray thing. If they get a new assistant who has guards he really likes, or he went to another school and takes some guards back to Notre Dame with him, it's just going to be really interesting to see over the next few months what they do. I love where the team is at for 22, 23. Just a team full of combo guards. They just need a big man really badly. And I think they address that more in the transfer portal rather than in the class of 22. So that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys for watching. And we'll definitely see how this pans out. We'll have more videos out soon. Going to try to talk to some players and coaches in the next week or two. And then we'll have some more recruiting news, have some more analysis of current players and the current team. So that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. Go Irish. Peace.